In this video, we're going to learn about the characters in Hamlet for our class. So first off, just to get an idea of what it is, the the play Hamlet is basically the same story as The Lion King, or in fact, The Lion King is the same story basically as Hamlet. Um, so let's start off with this. First off, there's the character Simba, and he's got a dad by the name of Mufasa, and that's his dad. And he's also got this evil uncle named Scar, all right? And a mother named Sarabi. Now, there's people who work for Mufasa, at least characters that work for Mufasa, and that's Zazu and Rafiki. There's also people who work for, they're characters that work for Scar, and they're Ed, Shenzi, and Bonsai. Now, we all know in the story of The Lion King, Scar kills Mufasa and blames Simba. And a lot of the action doesn't change even in Hamlet or vice versa. Now, once Scar kills Mufasa, Zazu then starts to work for Scar. Now, also Simba has some friends named Timon and Pumbaa that he spends time with, and they, help him as he survives and grows up. Simba also ends up having a girlfriend named Nala that we see, and pretty much they get together and they start the new pride once Simba gets his revenge against Scar and then saves the pride and everything else. Now Rafiki also then works for Simba. Rafiki's the baboon, once worked for Mufasa but now works for Simba as Simba is the king. And of course Rafiki's important because Rafiki's the one who gets Simba to actually take action. There's a scene when he hits Simba and says, it's in the past, etc. Helps activate him and set him on motion. Okay, so if we reset it and we take a look at Hamlet, the characters are basically the same, but there are some major differences because Hamlet was originally written, and the Lion King is a copy of that in a way. Hamlet was originally written for an adult audience, and it's really kind of a Game of Thrones kind of story that goes on there. So there's a lot of action, and there's some things that kids may not be aware of. So of course, there's differences. So first off, instead of Simba, we have young Hamlet. And young Hamlet's dad is King Hamlet. It would have been confusing if Simba was named after Simba, old Simba. So that's why they say Mufasa and Simba. It's a little clearer. But for us, for Hamlet, you have his father who's also named Hamlet, and then he's known as young Hamlet. In this story, in the play, he's also named as Ghost. Young Hamlet also does have an uncle, and the uncle's name is Claudius. And the action stays pretty much the same. Claudius kills Hamlet, King Hamlet. Young Hamlet does have a mom, and the mom's name is Gertrude. Zazu in the play would be instead Polonius. Personality is similar too, talks a lot. And of course, Rafiki in the play is also known as Yorick. You'll notice the color has changed a bit for it, and there's a reason for it. Now, Claudius has people that work for him, and they're known as, there's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Okay. Now, after Claudius kills King Hamlet, Polonius then moves and starts working for Claudius. So the action is similar to The Lion King. And of course, young Hamlet has friends as well, not Timon and Pumbaa, but Horatio and Marcellus. Horatio being the scholar and educated who can philosophize, kind of like Pumbaa, who've talked about like the stars like giant balls of gas in space. So there is some sort of knowledge there. Okay, and the relationships are roughly the same. Young Hamlet also has a girlfriend, and her name is Ophelia. Now this is where the story changes. There's parts that are different. The characters here are relatively the same as The Lion King, but now this is the part that changes. Okay, first off, Ophelia in this story also has a brother named Laertes who seems to be overly obsessed about her and is really passionate. And Polonius is their father. So father of Ophelia and Laertes, so that's a change. That's different. Another thing that's also different is that Claudius marries Gertrude, and that's one of the motives for him to kill his brother, is that he doesn't just want to kill his brother to become king, he wants to be his brother. And so he kills the brother and marries the brother's wife and becomes the quote unquote father of his brother's kid. So he wants to take over the family. It's a lot more um, insidious or poisonous in a way than in The Lion King. Another fact that also changes the story is that Yorick, or the character that seems to spur on Hamlet, if you know in The Lion King it would be Rafiki, that character is dead in the story for over 20 years. So that changes it a bit. The person that actually can get people to act is actually not there. The one who can give perspective is gone. So generally, that's what the story is about. However, there's more. There's a frame story that is a reflection of this of the story of Hamlet as well, presented in the book, and that's the frame story. Now, we'll start off with the story that we know, all right, the Hamlet story right there with the friends and father and all that stuff. But one thing that's different here is the frame story includes this guy named King Fortinbras who fought with the old King Hamlet and was killed in battle. And the old King Hamlet took the land. Now, when he died, his brother became king. And he also, because his son was really young at the time. So young Fortinbras, his father is killed, his uncle becomes the king and is the prince. And in this story, the frame works. It's similar to Hamlet and Claudius and King Hamlet, except young Fortinbras wants to take revenge or take the land that he lost to all of the king to old King Hamlet. So he wants to go back to take those lands from all those other people, and that's the frame story of Hamlet. That's just in the background, and the purpose of that is to present sort of an anti-story or an opposite story, or in literary terms, he functions as a foil, and a foil is just kind of like the anti-main character. We're not saying the villain or anything, but sort of the opposite mirror of the main character, to present so that we have something to compare. So there's a little bit of symmetry in the story itself. And that's pretty much it.